Hello, everybody. Welcome to Attitudes with Auntie. This is the place where we get to grow and learn together on how we can be the healthiest, wealthiest, and happiest humans. Today, I'm very, very excited. This has been a podcast long in the making, I feel. Today, we're talking with a powerhouse of a business woman, Miss Ellie Kate. If you don't know who this person is, well, you're living under a rock because she went from being a barista to being Georgie Stevenson's executive assistant to now running her own business and teaching queens how they can be their own executive assistant. Well, to other people as well. Anyway, today we're going to be delving into her journey of how she made such huge jumps, the lessons she learnt, and so much more. I'm really, really excited because Ellie and I haven't met in person, but we've connected over a little Zoom session, and she truly is passionate and exactly who she is online, which we always love. We love to see that. Anyway, welcome, Ellie, to the podcast.
Thank you so much. That was like such a beautiful intro. I feel like you'd pre-prepared it, but it just came from your beautiful brain. I'm like, thank you so much.
My pleasure. It came from the heart.
From the heart. Yeah. I felt that.
Easy to intro a fellow executive assistant.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Or ex-executive assistant. Oh my God. For you.
Oh, for me.
Oh, no, you are still.
No, I still am. I was like, do you have updates to tell me?
I do, but after the pod.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome. Thank you for
you.
making time because I know the business has kind of just gone kind of full time.
Yeah, it has.
And you've been a busy bee.
I have been a busy bee, but I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. So I would like to start kind of from the beginning because you have made such crazy jumps in the last few years. The growth has been exponential. Yeah, exponential, that's the word. So take us back to the beginning. How did you go from being a barista to Georgie Stevenson's executive assistant?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question.
Yeah, it's okay if it's a lovely story time.
How did I go from being a barista to an EA? Well, to be fair, I was also a personal assistant at the same time as being barista. So there was a bit of a transition, and that was definitely my foot in the door into the whole industry. I'd refer to it as an industry, but it's such a niche kind of little role that's PAs, EAs, virtual assistants too. I feel like it is its own industry now. But yeah, I was a PA first to another influencer who's here on the Gold Coast. She's amazing.
How did you get that job?
That job I got from a previous job. I was a marketing coordinator at a gym. So I brought on all of our ambassadors and I scouted local influencers to, have them join and post about it every time they came to a class. And she was our biggest ambassador. She was the biggest local influencer. And after that job, I actually left that job right before COVID hit, which was the worst timing of my life because I therefore didn't get job keeper, the big one. So that was, in hindsight, it was all happening for a reason. But at the time, I was like, oh, my God, what have I done? So, yeah, when I left that job and then not much was happening at the start of COVID, obviously, everything was closed, but online business was booming. So that influencer reached out to me because we had a relationship. She knew I was in marketing. She knew I had my own little kind of social following and could edit reels and do content and stuff like that. And yeah, she reached out to me and just said, I've never hired a PA, so I don't really know what I'm looking for, but, I know you've never done it. Would you be interested? And it kind of just started from there. Yeah, so that was the first PA job, which was a really cool evolution. I feel like it worked really well, starting with someone who also had never hired someone before because we got to grow together and sort of figure out what that looked like.
That must have been such a learning curve.
Yeah, it was, but also it was really fun and nothing that I didn't really feel comfortable with, if that makes sense. Being a PA to an influencer and business owner, it was all stuff I kind of was really excited to learn. There was Shopify and packing orders and content creation, which I already could do. But yeah, it was really good. It was a learning curve, but it was a really good experience.
Are we allowed to know who the person is?
Yeah. Her name's Ellie Orton. She lives on the Gold Coast now too, so I still see her sometimes, which is really sweet. And yeah, that transition was actually so perfect because she moved to the Gold Coast and therefore that allowed me to make the transition. And while being barista, that was in Brisbane, by the way, we started off when we both lived in Brisbane. I was a barista in Brisbane too, and that was kind of like my working week, one day with her and the rest at the coffee shop. And then Georgie reached out to me knowing that I was already, you know, fluent in the PA world and social media and all the things.
Yeah.
And that was also what led me to be able to move to the Gold Coast, which was really cool. So lots of evolutions happened at the same time. But yeah, I guess how I transitioned from barista to EA, it's like there wasn't that direct leap. There's like a little puzzle piece in between of like being a PA first and building up my experience and then making the leap after that.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. That's such an example of like habit stacking, because sometimes you'll be doing a role and you're like, you don't realize that like all these little experiences from all these different jobs like combine together, and it makes your skills so much stronger. It's like you working at the gym, calling up people, liaising with lots of people, and then doing the content creation, all just like perfectly woven in.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's exactly it. And that's why I'll always be the biggest advocate for experience over like study or, you know, traditional university and degrees and stuff like that always.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the more you do it, just the more confident you are. And you don't like fake it till you make it. But then also like just getting that experience just actually builds that confidence. And then,
it does. Yeah.
You know, and then maybe when Georgie reached out, how did you feel when Georgie reached out?
Oh my God. I lost my shit. I was like, I remember my heart was beating and I messaged my bestie straight away. And I was like, oh my gosh, what do I say? Like, this is insane. I remember like where I was like in my bedroom in my mom's house. She sent me a voice memo over Instagram. So it was like super chill, super cash. She was kind of just telling me like what she needed and just sort of pitching like where she thinks I would fit in that and like how much work it would be and if I would be keen. And oh my God, I felt like it didn't feel real. I felt very much like she was still like, I guess an idol, like someone that I looked up to. She was literally on my vision board, like photos of her, not for the reason of I wanted to work for her, which is cool, but more so the types of, you know, attitudes and mindset and things that she'd achieved. And there were photos of her doing those things that I also wanted to do. And that's why she was on my vision board. So that was like a really cool little manifestation, I guess, too.
Also, for some context, if you don't know who Georgie Stevenson is, she's a very big public figure, but at the same time, like runs an amazing business called Naked Harvest. Also has a podcast, also does like mindset stuff. Yeah. She does a whole lot of things, but she's an absolute queen, especially on the Gold Coast and in Australia. Yeah. Context definitely needed. But to me, she was like, the bee's knees. She was like success to me. So then were you like, yes, I will do that. Yay. And then also, what did that look like with your other client?
Well, when I first replied, I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I also had to ask for advice about like, you know, I think she asked me like what my rates were and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Like that's such a different, like, because again, same situation. It was a role sort of being created as I started doing it. Like she was kind of pitching to me all the different things that were required and around how long it would take, like how many days a week. And it was not an existing role. So it was like, oh my God, like we're just starting from scratch kind of thing, which is really cool and really fun. But you make it up as you go. You figure out what to charge because, you know, you're not sure what it's going to include and how it's going to evolve. I literally forgot what you asked. Because I went off topic.
No, that's okay. I was just saying, did you say yes? And then what happened with your other client?
Oh, yes. So, yeah, obviously I definitely said yes, but it was more so not about what was happening with my other client because she had just already moved from Brisbane to the Gold Coast. So I was already driving to the Gold Coast for my 1 day a week with her. Yeah. And so Georgie offering me like 2 to 3 days, I was like, perfect. Now I'm up to 3 to 4 days of work on the Gold Coast. Like, this is what I needed to essentially make the move. And it was always going to be leaving the barista job and staying on with Ali, the PA role, and then Georgie as well. And it was perfect. I just, did the respectful thing and told Ali that like I'd been offered the job because, you know, they're definitely not conflicting or like competition in any kind of way. And like none of us in the industry view each other as competition. But is more so just, the role would be taking up more of my time and it would be like similar work. So I was just letting her know, of course, and she was so happy for me. And it was just perfect because I wanted to keep doing both, and neither of them were full-time. So they kind of both had the understanding that one day would be with one of them and then the other days would be with the other. It was really good.
Great. I'm surprised. So had Georgie never had a PA before?
She did have a PA. I'm not really sure if that's what her title was back then, but she had some kind of a PA. Her name was Mel, who then transitioned to become the brand executive of Naked Harvest.
Oh, just casual.
Yeah, so her PA was like the first person Georgie hired when she stepped out on her own and did influencing full time. So she helped with like Georgie's first projects, like ebooks and stuff like that, before Naked Harvest existed, before her podcast existed, like before anything.
Wow.
So, but then as the business grew, Mel, her name was, she stepped up into executive in the business. So then there was no PA anymore. So yeah, she hadn't for a while.
Yeah. Okay. So then when you first started, did you feel a little bit like, I don't know what I'm doing, like any imposter syndrome, or did you kind of just...
Yes, I remember being so nervous, like so nervous, especially like going into the office for the first time and even just like overthinking like my replies, like my text messages and emails and just everything. I think it's just the nerves of like you don't want to make a mistake. You want to like put your best work forward, and it was always nerves in a good way because I cared so much and because it just felt like very surreal at the start. I remember being nervous for like a long time, especially when part of my role was content creation. It was posting to like the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people online that she had. And even the thought of that is like, it's a bit scary. Like when it's your own, you're like, whatever, if I make a mistake, I can fix it. But when it's for someone else, you like, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. So I was definitely nervous.
Yeah. How long do you reckon it took to kind of like get really comfortable and it be like,
honestly,
chilly and chum?
A while, like a long time. And it's funny because there's another girl that's replaced me since I've left. And I was saying to her, I was trying to reassure her and say, don't worry, like I know it feels scary at first because you're literally posting to thousands of people and you don't want to make a mistake, because there's that many eyes watching and that's what it feels like. And I was trying to reassure her, but I kind of said, honestly, it did take a while. So just like get used to it, get comfortable, like don't run away from the fear. Like it definitely takes a while to get used to. Probably like at least the first 6 months, I still felt like a bit of like adrenaline and a bit nervous. Like when I'd, I guess day to day you get more comfortable, but like when there was big things on, I would always get really nervous still, like big shoots or big projects, big campaigns. But yeah, the first 6 months I remember definitely I was like always nervous going into the office, but like in an exciting way.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I think it probably took me like 7 or 8 months to be like fully comfortable with my client, or like just like confident in what you're doing, because then you're like, okay, no, I know what to do. I know how you think. I know what you like.
Yes, yeah. Honestly, that feeling probably took me like at least a year to get to, where I was like so sure in knowing what they would want and what they would think, and it just feeling like second nature. Like I could almost, do something while having a conversation or while doing something else. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I had to be like so hyper focused on every detail, because it does obviously become more comfortable after you've been doing it for a year, you'd hope.
Yeah, 100%. So how do you describe your role? Like when you were working in it and people would be like, what do you do?
Well, I would the title we kind of came up with like within the first couple of weeks, once we sort of figured out, I guess once people started asking what I did within the team and then outside. And it was pretty easy to just say, oh, I'm an executive assistant, because that's like such a like traditional role title. But then there's layers to it when you say like, oh, I'm an EA for an influencer and multiple business owner. You're like, oh, okay. So like that includes a lot more like content creation and, campaigns and shooting and stuff like that. And it's a lot more like marketing focused, because, that is their life, is their personal brand, and they are, essentially a marketing engine themselves. So yeah, I would kind of explain it as an executive assistant, but with, content creation and like, just your general assistant work. But it was always very layered.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think
Yeah.
an average day it would have so many different elements to it.
Yeah, it was always different. Like there wasn't really an average day, honestly.
Yeah, no days the same.
Yeah, which I loved.
What was your biggest like surprising thing that you learned working with Georgie? Like I think people like Georgie we sometimes like put on a pedestal or like idolize or like really respect. And then like I think once you start working one-on-one with somebody, you just like become like, oh, they're really like they're human. Like they have so many traits that make them like different, and that's why they're successful. But at the end of the day, they're human. So what were some of your things that you were like, oh, I'm surprised by that, or I didn't expect that?
Not that I didn't expect it, but maybe it was more apparent like when you're in person with someone was like her like real like laid back humor, and like she's really funny and like loves to have a laugh and will kind of never really take anything that seriously. Like she's always like, oh, it's not that serious, and she loves to make a joke about things, and she's very like not bogan, but like just very Aussie laid back kind of energy, which I really liked. And I just feel like that's something where like it wasn't different to how she is online. It's just like I feel like you only get that more when you're in person with someone and you get to know them. So that was probably the first thing I remember thinking, especially because I was like so nervous and so paranoid about getting everything right and being perfect, that when she brought that energy and she was like, oh, it's all good, don't worry about it, I was like, oh, okay. So I think that surprised me, considering like, you know, how successful she is and how much she's been able to run such big businesses with team members and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's cool that she has that side to her as well.
Yeah. Aw, very human and just like personal. Yeah,
very, very. Like nothing ever really goes to her head ever.
That's so great.
Which I loved.
Yeah. I love it when you see kind of like with my boss, he's a great like leader and so like lovely to all his staff and everything. And then also, chilled and laid back. And it's just so nice to like see that, because you're like, oh, for some reason I swear we get told like leadership, you have to be like harsh and like, you know, like very rigid. But I actually think that if you're like kind and understanding and hold them to high standards, but I think, you know, that's great leadership.
Honestly, I think that's probably one of her best traits, and a trait that I really look up to is like someone that's able to maintain really high standards and, you know, get a high level of work done while still having that really kind, laid back nature that isn't someone who's like demanding and like controlling and micromanaging and all that. I think that's like such a fine balance, and people that do that I really admire.
Yeah, very important.
She did it really well.
So I would love to know some this is just for my own personal reasons, I'm being selfish, but I'm sure other people are interested. I would love to talk about like organization and like being focused and stuff, because like I'm sure you've learned a hell of a lot on your journey. But like, what would you say are your best kind of like ways for you to stay organized? Because you kind of need to be on top of Georgie's life, your business, all of that. You're not Georgie Stevenson's EA anymore, just for clarification. But like when you were doing Ellie Kate Media and Georgie, how did you manage both of them? What were your organizational tips and tricks?
Oh my gosh, that's like, it's difficult. Like I definitely don't have like this magic like tool, or like, you know, AI can't do it for you and stuff like that. But I definitely like, I guess, what's the word for it? Like practically I use Google Calendar and Notion. They're like logistically my favorite tools that you can actually use to implement like heaps of organization. And that's where I put my whole life on Notion. And then time blocking wise, it's all in Google Calendar. Like if it's not in my Google Calendar, I will forget and it's not happening. So in terms of organization and like actually planning time, that really helped. I feel like I've been losing my train of thought.
That's okay.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah. I feel like with being in social media and both aspects of like my personal brand, my business, and then my EA job, they both require being on socials, posting at all hours of the day, at not just, you know, your typical 9 to 5. I feel like it really helped being in a certain mind frame at a certain time and a certain place, if that makes sense. So like I would always make sure that my desk at home is like for work and work hours and stuff like that. And then I would like move to a different location when like the time hit that I was going to work on my own thing. And it would always be, you know, like all my work would be done first, and then it would be something to break it up, like dinner or whatever I was doing that afternoon. And then that thing, I feel like that really helped in terms of like productivity. But organization is just like, I literally have lists everywhere. I have task management on Notion. But yeah, it's definitely difficult, and I definitely think it's always like a learning, and there's no like one size fits all, which I think is important.
Yeah, you got to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Like Notion and me, sorry, we're not friends.
You don't like it? Yeah, interesting.
It's too overwhelming. There's too many features.
What do you use?
Love Trello.
Oh, yeah. I want to get into
basket.
Yeah, I want to get more into Trello.
It's literally so easy. You just have your list, your little sections, just drag and drop.
Okay.
And then you can just make a little comment. Do.
Cute. Yeah. I might give it a go.
Yeah.
But there's so many out there, and I feel like that's a great place to start, is finding what works for you.
Yeah. Because like I tried Monday.com for a while.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, ugh, too much.
Yeah, to me it's giving Excel Monday. like it's a pretty Excel, but it's still like a bit too like.
It is a pretty Excel.
Yeah.
Yeah. my boss is like engineering world, so he's always like, should we make an Excel spreadsheet? I'm like, no, we shouldn't.
Not.
It's ugly.
Whenever someone shows me because I'm obviously from like the social media industry, whenever someone shows me a content plan or a social media calendar in an Excel spreadsheet, I want to die. I can't look at it. I'm like, how could you go and put something creative into an Excel spreadsheet in lines and columns? And I can't do it. I cannot do it. Notion all the way.
Or at least put it in Canva and make it look pretty.
Oh, yeah. Anything else. Like literally anything else. Anything that's designed for it would be great too. Like Excel is not designed to drag and drop pictures into the little boxes, guys.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. I'm saying it. I hate it.
Okay, noted. We won't do that.
Sorry if anyone does that.
Yeah, I think with organization, I always tell myself, I'm like, just keep it simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's actually something I've found being in like working fully for myself now, well, like mostly, and having to be my own boss like every single day. I found it's really easy to, you know, keep yourself busy with organizing your lists and making your pretty Notion pages and like feeling like you're being productive but not actually being productive. They're two different things, and I feel like it's so easy to like trick yourself into thinking that you're being productive because you're organizing the things that you need to do and not actually doing them. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not doing like the needle moving tasks.
Yes,
I'm
always.
like, what's going to move the needle? I don't care if you only work for 2 hours, if it's 2 hours of moving the needle.
Exactly.
Slay.
I love that phrase, and I've always used it since I heard it wherever, probably on a podcast. And I, always ask myself that. Yeah. It's so beneficial.
Yeah, it's very easy to just feel like you're being productive, and then you're like,
I used to catch myself doing that a lot, and now I've gotten better. But sometimes I'll just like, because I still enjoy organization, obviously, because that's clearly a main part of my jobs and my career. So like I'll do those sort of more mindless tasks like organizing pages and tables and whatever, like at the end of the day or like even on the weekend. Call me a nerd, but like not a nerd, but like
loser, she works on the weekend. No, I'm kidding.
No, I just organize my Notion pages on the weekend.
No, but I kind of love that. You know, when people are like, so what are you doing this weekend? And you're like, I'm actually going to go to a cafe and do work, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm going to do work, but I'm going to do the fun work.
Yeah, the fun
Treat myself.
I'm crazy.
Literally.
There was something else I was going to add, but it's wafted out of my brain. Oh,
about organisation?
Yeah. Do you ever find, I had to have a little talk to myself, and I said, Andy, you seem to be serving your client and doing all the client stuff, but then when it comes to your own personal life, you do those things like last, like as in like I think I was, you know, putting, because I'm getting paid for it, like that priority over like my own life. Like obviously I need to be doing the paid stuff during like my quote unquote hours of working, but then like I also need to make sure I'm keeping up with my own personal life, because I still deserve to show up for me, you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Did you ever do that?
Yes. Like have the little talk with yourself. Is that what you mean?
Or just like find that you were accidentally like prioritizing other people's?
Oh my gosh, yes, definitely. I feel like I swung really hard one way and then I swung really hard back the other way throughout, like, especially the 2 years that I was an EA for Georgie. I feel like at the start, when she offered me the job, it was like going to be 2 to 3 days a week with the potential to grow. And that's like where we started really small and really minimal, because it does take a lot of learning to really integrate yourself into someone's life before you can actually be doing a lot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of like getting used to and knowing actually what they need, which, you know, all happens at the start. But then after that, and once I got more into it, it became like really, really full-time and really, really full-on, where I did feel like I was, you know, I did have a personal brand, a YouTube channel, Instagram for years before that, and I really feel like that slacked off for a long time. Sorry. And yeah, like I was still good at being social on the weekends because I love my friends, but that was pretty much all. Like I would wake up, my housemate can attest that I would just wake up, get on my laptop until 8 or 9 p.m. and then cook dinner and go to sleep, and that was pretty much it. And that's when I got a lot better at boundaries. And it's not necessarily about the work. Oh my God, reword that. It's not necessarily about the work. It's always about your own boundaries. And what I actually did is, which I know not everyone can do. So like, I'm so validating that not everyone can do this, but I actually asked if I could have Fridays to still do my own thing and just keep my work to Monday to Thursday.
Oh, so were you working 5 days a week at one point?
Yeah. Yeah, like sometimes 6 if there was events and stuff on the weekend.
That's a lot.
It was like full-time plus at nighttime posting on socials and stuff, so it felt like more than full-time at some points. So yeah, I swung really hard that way, let my personal brand slip, which at the time, like I've never regret that, because I still was like, no, this is the season I'm in and I'm so okay with that. Like I'm never going to get this career opportunity back, and I'm learning so much and I'm like thriving in the career, and like things are moving, and I did so many cool things in that job. So during that period, it was like so essential. It was like the building phase of like the role, and you know, learning a lot along the way. So yeah, that was the season I was in, and I was okay with that. So I kind of didn't try and force both. I just embraced it, and I was like, any other downtime you get, you need to rest and like socialize and do all the things that like fill your cup up. But then when it came to it, and I thought, no, I don't actually want to let my personal brand go on my YouTube and all that. I don't want to let it go for good. I asked for the Fridays to have an Ellie Kate day, because, and this is a really important point, I was at the point where I had good systems. I knew what my workload was each week, and it was, even though like I said, every day was different, the workload I could really gauge and I could manage my time a lot better. And I was just more familiar with the role and what was required of me, and there was a trust there as well that I would always get it done. And I looked at my work and I was like, if I really push myself, I can get this done in 4 days. And that's all it was. It was me like still getting the same work done just in 4 days. And then I had my Fridays, and I was really, really good with my boundaries. I feel like my friends do say that about me, that I'm actually really good with my boundaries. And sometimes I don't think I am with my own personal ones, but definitely with, you know, work and personal and business, I always like, if Friday's an Ellie day, like I'm not even probably going to open your message if it's not related to my like Ellie work and business and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that would be my tip.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important, because then you're like respecting yourself, and as soon as you set like boundaries and you set respect, people like obviously respect you more, because they're like, oh, she knows her time is precious.
Yeah,
she knows that like her business is worth like putting value in. So it's like I think that's really, really great.
Yeah, and it also helped me be a lot less wishy-washy with like my time blocking and being more intentional with my work and my time, because then on that Monday to Thursday, I was like, you've got to get it all done by Thursday, you know, end of day, because then Friday you get to fully, you know, switch that part of your brain off, focus on your work, which I find really helpful with like actually having different days for different things too.
Yes.
But yeah, it makes you really much more intentional, because you're like, no, I set this strong boundary where I don't, you know, reply or engage or do whatever on this day. So when it's the other days, you go 110%. And that really helped.
Because then you can like, you don't have to be switching between Ellie
Yeah.
and client work.
That's
and
really
stuff.
hard. Yeah. Especially in a creative field, or if you're doing anything creative, like I feel like all creatives will know that it's like almost impossible. Like you just feel like you get nowhere in either like side of what you're switching between.
Oh man, I keep forgetting what I'm going to say. This is good stuff though. I'm enjoying
good.
it. So when did you decide, okay, we are considering leaving working for Georgie and kind of stepping fully into your own business? Like, when did you decide that and how did it feel? And then like, why did you decide that?
Oh my gosh, I actually have some pretty clear like moments of that, I guess, thought pattern that happened of like, you know, thinking, okay, I love this and it's served me, but the next thing's kind of like tapping on my door kind of thing. Like the intuition was kind of kicking in and I was like, there's something next for me. I started entertaining the thought, started listening to my intuition a lot more, which I always do, but it wasn't really there before. I was so in it and I was obsessed with it and I loved it so much. But yeah, I started to obviously take the Fridays to work on Ellie Kate, which was needed. And I guess part of that decision as well was me knowing that I want to have something to go to after this role has served its time for me. And I kind of knew that deep down I have to work really hard on those Fridays to build up something to go to after this kind of thing. So I guess that was like step one, was like that decision was, for future Ellie, knowing that that's what it would build up to be. And then I think it was about like the middle of the year. So
last year?
Yeah, the middle of 2023, because I left like December, Jan 2024 kind of thing. It was probably about the middle of 2023 when I was like, I think the end of this year would probably be good timing, like quote unquote good timing. Like who determines that? I don't know. But there was a few key moments that I also still really wanted to be a part of, and I obviously wanted to give like as much time and notice as possible to like feel out how that would look and what would happen next. So I probably had the discussion, I want to say like, July-ish, July or August of that year. And then we were working on a really big project, which was a collab with LSKD. And that was coming out in September. And I was like, I'm having this conversation now, being like July, August, I think it was. But it's just so this is where I'm starting to think, like this is what I envision for myself, but there's absolutely no way, like you're not having me for this project that like the LSKD collab that we've been working on for so long. Like I absolutely am here for that and beyond. But this is just like where my head's at. And so, we saw that out, and then I kind of
What was her reaction to that?
Oh, so supportive. She was actually heartbroken because she was like, I love working with you so much, and like, how am I going to find another Ellie, which is just the biggest compliment ever.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I'm going to find it so hard. I'm going to miss you so much, but that's all it was. And then she was just so supportive. We actually...
Oh, green flag.
Such a green flag. And even prior to that conversation, she... like we'd be driving somewhere or having like, social time outside of work or other conversations. And I'd like sort of mention what I've noticed there's like a gap in the market or like something that I could do in the future, like business wise. And she would always be like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Like, what about this as well? And she would like brainstorm my business ideas with me and like give me feedback and say, yeah, that's such a good idea. Like, why don't you do it? Like, what's holding you back kind of thing. So she was always
so beautiful.
She was always so supportive of that. Which, as you said, such a green flag. So, I kind of was, lots of, I guess, figuring out and working together on, like, when that would be. And then, I fully, like, handed over in, like, the December after all of our activations were done. Like, the last event was the start of December, and then it started to, like, be the handover process. So, I feel like it was a long time to like actually, I guess, see the decision through, but at the same time I knew that it was the right thing to do all along, which I guess is lucky. I don't know if it's lucky, but it's just like that's what my intuition was telling me and I just believed it.
Yeah, I love that you trusted your intuition. It's very important. What was your head noise and fear levels like? Because I think like yes, we can like feel and knowing. But then the actual like execution can be so scary, and our brain can like give us all the thoughts of why we shouldn't do it, why it won't work, like all the fear. And like that's obviously where the hard bit is, because you have to just do it anyway. So like, what was your experience with that, and how did you overcome it?
The head noise was real, Andy. The head noise was so intense. Like it's so funny that you, as like in the human experience, you have like this one, it's almost like the angel and the devil, or like, you know, the worst possible scenario and then the best possible scenario. And your intuition's like, I always came back to the thought of like, this idea wouldn't have even come into my realm if I wasn't supposed to see what it, you know, pursue it or see what it, where it led me, which honestly helped so much, because then there was the other side of like worst case scenario. And I had to go there, especially in that December period, because I feel like I was talking about it and it was all fun and exciting, and I was like, future Ellie has to deal with that.
Yeah,
like
talk about it.
Future Ellie has to do the handover and actually leave and never come back kind of thing. Well, not never, but you know, she has to fully commit. And I was like, this is all great and exciting, and it didn't feel that real. And then we had our last event early December, and then it was scary, especially being over the December, January, where everyone's kind of on holidays anyway, which I think it would be as like hard as what it was at that time, but it was all very scary. And then,
what do you mean it was scary that it was quiet for Ellie Kate media business?
Not necessarily, but more so just in general in business. I think people are like customers, clients, whatever, like most people are on holidays, so they're not looking to, whether it's learn something new or buy something, or, you know, they're not actually on their phones as much if you're talking about social media in general. I mean, some people argue that people are actually on their phones the most because they're like with family that they're not really enjoying and stuff like that, which I also kind of get. But I think it was just a scary time, because it was like, everyone was on holidays, and obviously everyone has annual leave and I did not. And then I was not going back to a job. That was like, I don't know, it was very like bit of a limbo period, I guess. And that's when the head noise was like really loud. And I was like, all I did was think like worst case scenario, and I had to actually go there and be okay with that. And it sounds funny to think this, because it's not that bad at all. And that's where it helped thinking of this. It's like, okay, well, what's the, like, if business is not making me enough money to live, to pay my rent, pay my bills and all that kind of stuff, what would I do? I would go back to being a barista. I loved being a barista. I still love being a barista.
It's so fun, right?
So what are you worried about? And that's the thought pattern I had to have. When the head noise was coming in, I had to entertain the thought of, okay, hypothetical, it doesn't work, or it doesn't work as well, or it takes a while to work. Will you be a barista a few days a week, or however much it takes? And I was like, I loved that job. I was still like, I have a big goal in life to own my own cafes and venues and stuff. So like, that would actually be not that bad. Like, I still want to keep up my skills. And so I was like, okay, perfect. Well, if you're happy with that, your fear is it's not invalid, but that's what I would tell myself. I'd be like, you've got nothing to worry about now. Like, if that's fine and you're okay with that, stop thinking about it. So you entertain it for a bit, and you go there and you go like really like, oh my God, worst case, which again, love barista jobs. Like, I don't think that's a bad job. And then you just look forward, and you just have to keep going. Okay, now that I've entertained that and thought about the worst case scenario, if I'm okay with that, perfect. Don't revisit. Go, okay, now we're working towards the best case scenario, and that's all we're focused on. And that's honestly what got me through. That's still today.
Yeah. That's a brilliant way of thinking it, because, being like, no, it'll be fine. Like, I think that only gets you so far, but I think acknowledging the fear and then being like, what's the worst case? And I always say, like, am I going to die? No. Okay, do it.
Yes, so true. Oh my gosh. I have this, I think it was a meme or something once, and it was like, follow all these like marketing girlies on social media, because I just love that stuff. And it was this meme that's like, guys, we work in marketing, not the ER. Everyone can relax. And I was like,
did you reach out?
Yeah, probably. I probably reached out a few times in my life. And that's what I think about sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, this is not actually life or death, so it's going to be okay.
Yeah. It's a very, very important way. Otherwise, we can just like...
It just like brings you back down to earth for a second.
You're like...
And then you're like, okay, nerves, like fear, still valid, but not that big of a deal.
Yeah, and we're so young, we're so versatile. Like, yeah, we can go work at a cafe 5 days a week and still run a thriving business if that's what needs to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so you were feeling the fear, but she did it anyway. Slay.
The snaps, thank you.
I read someone's comment the other day and it was like, hot girls feel the fear and do it anyway.
Oh, I'm so here for that. Can you send it and I'll reshare it? Or was it a comment?
It was just a comment
I'll
on
make it a
someone's
meme.
phone, yeah.
Someone make it a meme. I'll reshare that. I actually, to like piggyback off that, I think it was Layla Hormozy.
Oh, love Layla.
Layla, yeah. A reel came up of hers the other day, like maybe a week or two ago actually. And it was like, I'm all for feeling the fear, but you know what takes it a step further is becoming friends with the fear. And I was like, oh my God, that's just like a level up of the perspective that I already was using. And it helped so much. It's really stuck with me. And just thinking like, because there's some new things and being in business now and doing a lot of things for the first time ever and just having, no experience, no one necessarily who's done exactly that before in my like close network. Like obviously there's Google, there's podcasts, there's all the things that I use all the time, but having no direct person that's like, what would you do kind of thing. I've used that of like, okay, be friends with the fear. Like you're going to sit in it, be comfortable with it because it's not going to go away. Like these things, you're going to keep doing new things. And you're going to have fear every time you do it. And then you can move forward because you're like, I don't know, you get more comfortable in that fearful feeling, I guess.
Yeah, so
I
being
kind of
like,
butchered that, but
no. I know exactly where you're coming from because the other day I was like feeling sick with fear, and I was like, man, I want to tap out, man, this is scary, and I was like, oh, there it is, we are in the icky, ugly feeling. I was like, slay queen, that's normal. Like, anytime you've achieved anything, this is exactly how we felt, and I was like, so true.
I love that.
So it's like, hello, my old friend.
Yeah, literally, and I love that what you say to yourself of like, anytime we've achieved something, it felt like this first.
Yeah.
Before it feels comfortable, it feels like that.
Yeah.
You go, where's my evidence from the past where I have done it and it has worked out?
Yeah. Yeah, I swear we just have to speak to ourselves like little children.
Honestly, how's the self-talk? There's just like so much going on up here all the time.
Okay, so you felt the fear. Well, you were a hot girl and did it anyway.
Love that.
You launched your biz. Yeah. And for, you know what, instead of me explaining it, what's your business?
My business is called Ellie Kate Media, and I run courses for freelancers and recruitment for entrepreneurs. That's my little elevator pitch.
That was perfect.
It's taken me like months to get there, honestly. I found it really hard to sort of articulate it because I feel like I genuinely have found like quite a gap in the market there where if you're not really in this little niche bubble of like EAs, PAs, VAs in this industry, I find it hard to explain. A lot of people don't even get why an influencer, because some people, let alone, don't even get that influencers are a full-time job now. So if they don't even get that, they're not going to understand why an influencer needs an EA or a PA. So like it is sometimes a challenge to articulate, but I feel like that's the best way I can put it, where like most people are like, oh, okay, sounds legit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks. I think it is.
Yeah. I feel like it takes refining. No, but it's so true. I think you don't realize how valuable an EA or a PA is until you're in that world. Because I literally look at my boss and I'm like, your world would crumble without me.
I know.
Like, you would be nowhere.
Yeah.
But like, it's so important. And it's like, I feel like now it's really becoming like, maybe that's because I'm in the world. And so I'm finding other people. But I think people are starting to appreciate it a lot more. But I think back in the day before I even was, I was like, doesn't a PA just like get coffee or something?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I'm like,
giving Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
Like that's everyone's concept of a PA and it stops there.
But like, actually, I'm interested to see what you think. But when people are like, what's the difference between a PA and an EA? I know there's actually like a technical difference, but what I think differentiates it and probably differentiates the pricing as well is a PA I think is a person who you go like, hey, can you please do this? And they'll go do it. Whereas I think an executive assistant is the person who will be your second brain and be like, and think of it before you and take the initiative to do it. And I think that's what makes them so valuable because a business owner can only make so many decisions in the day before their brain has just like tapped out.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have somebody who understands your business, understands how you work, and they're like, right, I'm going to pre-think, I'm going to do this, I'm going to action that, and then I'm going to like minimize as much that goes to them as possible so that they can just stay in their lane. That's what I think an executive assistant is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, you an executive assistant by any chance? You sound like you'd be great.
Well, thank you so much. I got really passionate about that.
I can tell. I love that we're having this conversation.
Slay.
Have you talked about the fact that you are an EA much on this podcast? Sorry,
No,
I'm just
not
segueing.
much.
I'm
There's just this mysterious boss I talk about.
Yeah, okay. Amazing. We'll keep it like that then.
I don't think I've even announced Bentley Assist, my new biz. But
oh my God.
Yeah,
we need to talk about that because I have a thought about the PA-EA difference, but then I want to talk about that.
What is your...
Totally agree with what you said. I like to differentiate it in my bubble of like influencers, personal brands, and like entrepreneurs. That's like who I really focus on, the EAs to them. And I feel like a PA is very much exactly in the title, a personal assistant, where the person isn't necessarily a business owner. They could just be maybe an influencer, which again is a business, but it's a one-man show. It's a personal brand essentially. And the personal assistant is doing, predominantly personal life tasks, like running errands, admin, things like you said, where you get told to do something, you do it, very much like ad hoc kind of stuff. Whereas an executive assistant, quite literally, obviously, is an assistant to an executive. So someone who is either a CEO, a director, whatever, of a business, and they need you to do all the personal assistant stuff usually falls under that as well. Yeah. But it's at a more high level where it's like you're liaising with a team because they're an executive of a team and you're working in the business, whether it be their personal brand, their e-com store, whatever. And there's a lot more executive level thinking where you do think ahead for them. I would train my PAs to obviously think ahead for the person as well. I don't think that's the main difference. It's more so just, the level of which the person that you're assisting is like, you're either their personal life or executive assistant. It's that plus assisting them at an executive level, liaising with the team and thinking more like strategically as well.
Thinking, what would they do?
Yes, always, what would they do?
What would they do? I don't know. Okay, so how is business going? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. It's going actually like so well. I'm so grateful and like kind of shocked that I'm only a month and a half now. I don't even know where February's gone already. A month and a half in officially. And I'm blown away at how well it's going, that like I thought, it's so funny because all those memes, me just referencing memes the whole time, all those memes about like people laughing, saying, oh, you went from a 9 to 5 to a 24/7, haha. I'm like, wow, I had this naive idea that, oh no, that won't be me. Like, because I finally have, 5 days of the week to work on my business, I'll actually stop at 6 p.m. and I'll actually wind down. I'll actually not think about it all the time. Nope, that's not true. You actually work on it all the time and there is so much to do, but like in the best possible way. Like the fear I had was around like, what if it's crickets? What if no one's coming to me? No one wants what I have to offer. No one wants to do the course. No one wants recruitment. Opposite. I'm like, there's so much to do because I'm very much in like a reactive phase right now, which is fine. It's not sustainable, but it's fine.
What do you mean by
days.
That?
Like things are coming to me and new scenarios are coming to me where I have to then figure out, oh, what do I do in this scenario? I've never done this scenario before, so let's make a plan. As I saw this, another meme. God, sorry. What the hell is
Most people say, I saw this TikTok where you're like, well, I saw this meme.
Well, you can tell I spend a lot of time on social media, obviously, but it was like entrepreneurs jump out of what do they do? What's the quote? Oh, yeah. Entrepreneurs jump out of the sky and build the plane on the way down. And I was like, that's what I'm doing right now. That's what it feels like. Like, it feels like in December, I jumped out of the sky and then the plane is like, I've got some wings and that's about it at the moment.
But she will take off. You're not.
Yeah. Oh, we're not hitting the ground. Okay. It's just like, you've got to build the plane as you go kind of thing. So like all the scenarios that are coming up for me, like doing recruitments in different businesses that I never have worked with before and stuff like that, or building out my course and running it for the first time as well. Like there's so many things that you can't there's so many things that you can't predetermine or like, there's so many things you can't foresee that are going to come up as you do things for the first time. So that's what I mean about I'm like very much in a reactive phase where ideally you want to be proactive and you want to be like, you know, planning for quarter 2 and like what you're going to market towards so then you can launch X, Y, Z in quarter 2 and stuff. But I'm very much like, okay, this has come into my inbox. Am I going to offer this service? Do I say yes? Do I say no? What am I going to do? What's my process? And it's like, creating it as you go, which I have actually learned pretty much everyone in business does.
Yeah, the growth and the learning must be crazy.
But it's going really well, so thank you so much.
That's fantastic. So you're just working around the clock?
Yeah, it's been surprisingly busy, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah, especially going from like the fear of like, oh my gosh, will anyone want this?
Yeah, it's worlds apart, which is like I'm so grateful that that's not now consuming my mind so much. It's more so just like, all right, how much can I get done today so that I can feel a little bit on top of it? I'm excited to get to that next phase of like my course. It's called EA Foundations and it's like to train elite level executive assistants that we're in the 4th and final week currently as we record. So then I will have my first like alumni group that join like the recruitment database and that will feel like I've got some cogs turning and I'm like, okay, perfect. The course is like, I've seen what it's like. I've seen how much time it requires, what's, you know, what they kind of did in their homework and the standards and stuff like that and what I can change, what I can do differently. But there's kind of like, there's a process now that I've done it. So I'm excited to get to that next stage of like doing it the second time and like refining and, you know, experimenting. That's like the fun part of business, I reckon.
Yeah, learning and being like, what can I change? And stuff. Yeah. I had a chat with myself this morning and I was like, sis, there's a lot of things you can change. I was like, I was like, okay, we're going to be excited about that, not scared.
Yeah, that's the thing, And Bentley Assist. You haven't told your podcast about that?
Oh, I may have mentioned it. I do freelance executive assistant stuff.
Yeah. And that's how we connected originally.
And that's how,
which is cool.
Yeah. You were like, hello.
And you've got a big girl website, which is so cool.
We do have a big girl website. I need to tell you a funny story about that.
Okay, I can't wait to hear.
If you know, you know.
Oh, I don't yet, guys, but we'll find out.
Someone threatened to sue me.
Amazing.
In my first week of business.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
I was like, oh my God.
You know the worst case scenario that we were talking about before?
I was like, I didn't even put that down.
That's pretty close.
It was pretty close. It's all good. We've resolved the situation and everyone's friends again.
Okay, cool. Oh my God.
It's goody.
Okay, let's unpack. Well, that's a learning, isn't it?
It was a massive learning curve.
How else is business going?
Going good. Had some discovery calls, which we love. Said no to a client, which felt really good because I was like, no, I know which clients I want to work with. This is an awesome client, but not for me.
That's such an abundant feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
To say no and not just have to say yes because it's like a do or die kind of situation.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. You don't want to, I'm like, don't be desperate. Don't be needy. Yeah.
No desperate energy.
No desperate energy.
We're not doing it.
But I reached out to one of my dream clients because I was like, hey, just let you know you're on my list. And then he was like, hey, I actually need a PA. Let's have a meeting. So I was like, oh, stop it.
Got smacked. I hope the audio picked that up.
Yeah. So that was great. We met up for like 2.5 hours and I like barely slept the night before because I was like, oh my gosh, have I just like been over my head? Like I didn't think you would actually reply.
Your nervous voice is so funny. When it like goes really high, like, oh my god.
But no, it went so well. And like in the meeting, I was just like beforehand, I was like, sis, you're gonna be all of you. He can't hire like work with. It wasn't a job interview. Thank you. It was a discussion if we should work together.
Yes.
Anyway,
freelance life.
But I was just like, be all of you, so that he just knows. This be who you working with.
Yeah, don't hold back.
Yeah, don't hold back. Didn't hold back. No, it went super well. And I felt so confident. I was like, there are so many things I can help you with. So yeah, we're still in discussion. There's no final thing yet because that only happened on Saturday. But yeah, I'm excited. And regardless of the outcome, I'm just really proud of that. And I think it's just made me a lot more like confident. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, definitely like it's such a good place mentally to be in too. Like you've surrendered to the outcome and you're also just so happy with the experience and like the practice that it gave you too.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit like dating, I feel. Like you just need a few practice runs anyway, even if like they're not the one.
Yes.
That's kind of the vibe.
Yes.
So just surrender, and if it's meant to be, it will be.
Exactly.
Also love that you reached out. Like my housemate says to me all the time, her favourite quote is like, if you don't ask, you don't know.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Or like if you don't ask, the answer's gonna
Always
be
know.
no.
Yeah.
So it's great evidence.
Yeah, yeah. But it was like not a needy message.
No.
I was like, just let you know. I didn't even say, do you need a PA?
Yeah, exactly.
Just say no.
Love that. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be too salesy. It's just I'm putting myself out there. You know, you wouldn't know about me if I didn't. So like you've got to, but yeah, not salesy, not desperate. Love it.
So for the people who are listening to this who are like, I potentially want to make the leap and become an executive assistant.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable to talk about money, can we talk about the potential earnings people might be able to earn if they become a freelance executive assistant with like good experience or whatever?
Yeah.
Like what would you say is the hourly range you could earn as an executive assistant from like beginner to like gun level?
Okay. Beginner, I'll tell you what I first started on because it's obviously like distant now and it's not where I'm at now. But beginner level PA, which is like these are all very like determined by context, experience, age. Like to give you context, my only other wage was my barista wage, which was probably less than the number I'm about to say. And I was like 18 maybe. Started at $25 an hour, which was also like cashy. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I can say that on a podcast because I don't care, but like that doesn't obviously include considering tax and GST and super and all those things, which you do need to consider when you're freelance.
Yep.
So that was like $25 like cash in hand kind of vibe. So that's like my parameter of like a starting point. No experience, like figuring out as you go kind of vibes. And then, yeah, I've heard people charge up to about $80 an hour. And that is obviously think about you kind of lose, you know, GST is inclusive. Like if you're earning over 75K, you need to be paying GST. So like you don't go hourly rate plus GST usually in this like freelance kind of environment. Some people do, but whatever floats your boat. And you need to obviously consider like everything is on you when you're freelance. So like your super, you need to contribute yourself, and obviously taxes, like this is all figures before tax. I'm not that good with like that side of money things. But yeah, that's like my parameter of like the variety I've seen in hourly rates, but in terms of like, I guess yearly salary, even though it's not a salary if you're freelance, but like you can literally earn like over 100K, like if you're a full-time executive assistant. So if that entices you, yeah, don't think it's like Devil Wears Prada situation where you're getting coffees and like getting paid like $15 an hour, because it's not the case if you're at that executive level with good experience and really applicable skills that will benefit the business.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you can save them lots of time and mental decision, you're actually helping them make so much more money.
Exactly.
Then they can do like needle moving tasks. So,
yeah, and that's the best way to think about it, which I'm sure you have too when you know, you first started out and when you like picked your own rates or whatever, is like you need to think about, how much time and money you're saving them. And that's essentially the value that you add to their business. It's like, it's not the task you're doing, like steaming their clothes, if it is that. It's the fact that while you're doing that, they can be making big business calls and big decisions and making really profitable moves, which is like, that's the value you add, which is really cool to think about it that way.
So true. So what about, did you ever increase your prices when you were working with Georgie?
Yes.
And did you initiate that or did Georgie?
I did.
And how did you feel when you did it?
Scared, terrified, because that comes with like your own personal like money mindset, I think. It comes with a lot of like your own conditioning and your own money beliefs. I think that's what I guess determines how you feel about going into like a salary conversation, whether it be like asking your boss for a pay rise or asking, you know, or saying you're going to, you know, looking to increase your rates and that kind of thing. I feel like it really depends on your relationship with that. But yeah, I was scared because I was like, because of my own relationship with money, I guess. But yeah, it required a conversation of like, okay, what's the standard that reflects that, new rate that you're asking? Let's talk about it. Let's discuss, especially because in that kind of role, it can be sometimes hard to establish actual like KPIs or like an ROI for the person that you're working for. So that's where like a conversation's definitely needed. Like you can't just willy-nilly be like, oh, it's been a year, let's up it by 10, 20, 30%. That's like, in my eyes, not the best way to go about it. But yeah, definitely a conversation of like what standard that requires. And, it was a progression of like, I think it was like halfway through. So like a year in, or probably a bit over a year. But yeah, it was not the easiest thing, but it was received well, which was great, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely something that like comes with experience, having those conversations. And it's, I guess, because they don't happen that often. Like it's not like you're doing that like every week, having that conversation with someone. So yeah, it definitely takes a little bit of like preparation and like giving yourself a bit of a boost and like a bit of a pep talk.
Yeah. Is it normal because you would have received my panic message last week. So for some context,
guys, I haven't replied to Andy and I came today and then my next text message was like, I'm here. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't replied to her last message.
No, it's fine because I'll take like sometimes a week to reply to people. It's not because I don't think that it matters. It's just like you're doing other stuff. I get it. But anyway, so for some context, I sent Ellie a little panic message because I have my rates and we'd had a discussion about it before and you told me to increase my rates by $5 each package. And then I was like, oh, okay, it feels a bit scary, but all right. And then, I don't know, I just had a moment like last week. I was like, oh, wait, am I worth that? Like, oh my gosh, are people going to think that's too much? Like, oh, what is going to happen? I was like overthinking it so much. I was definitely in that fear state. And then I think I had somebody say like, oh, can you charge that much?
That's what usually does it for me too.
Yeah. And then I go, oh my God, is that too much?
Yeah.
And I sent you that message. And then I'm glad you actually didn't reply because I think I needed a week. I'm still interested to hear your response after.
I will still reply.
The podcast.
But yeah, I'm keen to see where you're at too.
Because I kind of was just like, Queen, your prices are like, reflect the value that you can bring, the 4-year experience you have with being PA and EA to multiple people, your business degree, your mind of how much you can take off. And also you do need to take into consideration tax. Also, you're not getting any holiday leave. You're not getting any sick leave.
Exactly. Like, that's a huge part that I did not mention when you asked me. So sorry, guys. I said I'm not the best with finances. But yeah, that's another huge percentage that you're taking into consideration when you charge an hourly rate as a freelancer. Yeah.
100%. So like you have to think about that because at the end of the day, I could go get an executive assistant role that pays like $55 an hour and you're getting super and you're getting sick leave and you're getting holiday leave.
Yes, which is huge. Like that you need to actually think about like numbers wise. Like if you wanted to take a 2-week holiday, how much of your hourly rate would you have to pull from what you've earned so far this year or whatever and pay yourself for that 2 week that you take off. Like, I know that's a like kind of layman's terms way of looking at it, but like literally that's what you need to consider. Yeah. Yeah. So what did you come to? Are you glad I didn't reply because you needed to like work through it yourself? Is that what you were saying?
Yes, but I still love the conversation.
Oh, we're still going to have this whole conversation. But I definitely think it's interesting that you said it was someone else's comment. That happens to me a lot where it's like you accidentally let in like an external opinion or someone who's not even in the industry usually. They don't understand. And those things can really stick with you. I feel like I have some comments that still float past my mind especially when you're already kind of in that self-doubt and it's starting to come up. And then you think of comments like that and then that just kind of reinforces how you already might be feeling.
100%.
Yeah, so it's important to remember that those people they're not the expert. Like if you haven't done what I want to do, I don't want to hear from you. Sorry.
Yeah, that's actually such a good point because it was totally from somebody who, one, is a very close person in my life and two, like they didn't mean it in a mean way at all, but they just like aren't in the industry.
And sometimes it is that. It's an off-the-cuff comment from someone that you do value and care about. Yeah. But you need to remember, okay, I value and care about you as a person with your morals and values, but maybe not your opinion on my work and my industry.
Yeah. And then I think I like look at people who are in a 9 to 5 and they're only like $50K a year or something. And then for some reason I'm comparing myself to that and I'm like, wait, can I be earning like way more than that because they're working like so many more hours?
Sometimes I used to get caught in the trap of like when I was first like, you know, doing the EA thing full time, and I was like, God, this is so fun. Like I get to just like make social media strategies and like go to fun events and fun shoots and stuff, and like I get to, you know, earn good money doing it. And I would hear like, I don't know, like a base wage in like, I don't know, not the mines because I know they make a lot of money, but like as a sparky or like as a tradie or something like that. And then I would be like, oh God, like I feel bad. Like they're doing such hard labor and they're earning like not as much as me or the same amount or whatever. And then I would compare myself as well. I'd be like, oh, that doesn't really feel right. Like I get to have so much fun. I get to sit in the aircon. I get to like, you know, be all creative and, you know, wear whatever I want, all that kind of thing. I would get like that too. I'd be like, oh, that doesn't feel right. I'm like, no, actually they're just different things. And if that's the standard, then go right ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I do sometimes think that. And I did hear something ages ago, and this is what I just keep reminding myself. I've heard that, like, if you feel a little bit sick about your prices, you're probably charging right.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially potentially, a lot of women probably, when they're first starting, would undercharge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that in terms of, like, just because we're always our own worst critic. So, like, you're never probably going to fully see your value as much as someone else would, which is a shame. And like I guess it's something we all always work on. But yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah. And I also have my prices because I have a particular clientele that I'm targeted towards. Like I'm also kind of like want the high level business owner who's working on their business, not in their business.
That's
and so I need to have those prices set because otherwise I'm going to accidentally attract people who maybe are like just starting on their journey. And like whilst there are definitely people who can support them, I want the...
Oh my God, that's such another good point that I didn't even bring up either is like your prices, yes, they can reflect your value and your worth and not worth as a person, but worth in the business and in your role. But also they can just reflect the kind of industry and the kind of standard that you want to work with. Like prices can be strategic in that way. Just like, I don't know, some of those top shelf products at Mecca, they probably cost just about the same amount as the Mecca brand did to make, but they've priced them that way because they want to be positioned in a certain way. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like we don't really know exactly how much those products cost to make, but that's kind of the point.
Man, I'm loving this conversation. So what would you say your kind of like top lessons have been since starting? I know you're very fresh in the business, but I can imagine there's been a lot.
Oh my God, there's been like more than I would have thought already and so much personal growth. I think I don't know if I used it in my own social media post recently, but I saw somewhere that owning a business is like the best self-development you can do. And I'm like, wow, that I'm starting to see how true that is. I feel like my biggest lesson so far has been the thing about being friends with fear. I feel like I needed to tap into that a lot in early stages of like nothing, it's so cliche, but like nothing worth having comes from being comfortable. And like the start of anything that is, you know, going to be successful or going to be close to achieving your goals or whatever, it's always going to feel uncomfortable because you haven't done it before. Like if you keep doing the same things that you've always done, you're going to stay in the exact same spot. Like that's been my biggest lesson of just, taking the action. And also thinking it was an intention I set for like a week straight because I just really needed it. I was doing a lot of stuff that I was scared of doing because I had never done it before. And I just thought, think less and act more. And it's like so simple, but I would get so in my head about like, oh, I don't want to do that yet because I want to ask this person first and what they think and what I should say back and all that kind of stuff. And then I think, no, just start typing and see what comes out. Like just act on it and then you will actually have the answer. More likely you will have the answer already.
And have you been like leaning on other people in the sense of like, do you have a mentor?
I do. Yeah, I have a business mentor. I've had her since, oh my gosh, I can't remember. Maybe it was like some point towards the end of last year. She's a business and mindset mentor, which I really, really love. I really utilize both aspects. And it's honestly the best money I've invested so far, because I do have that, like, I feel like, yeah, I have that person that I can quickly be like, hey, I'd love a second opinion on this, or I'd love, you know, or yeah, in the moment of feeling the fear and being like, these are the doubts I'm having, like, how can I work through this? Like, is there a blind spot? Which has been really good to have that external view of, yeah, your own blind spots and like what you're not seeing, and usually just like where you're cock blocking yourself.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest thing that I found a mentor really helped with.
Yeah, there's so many like things you don't know that you don't know.
Yes, exactly. And that's what someone else can show you.
Yeah.
And then you still have to do the legwork to uncover it, to change the habit, to break the pattern, whatever. But you need to know the patterns there first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Like, it's so worth like just investing, even if it's not like one-on-one, but it's just like a course or some type of mentorship. It's so easy, because I was like, I want to start doing freelance executive assistant work. Surely I just like find a few clients and then bada bing, bada boom. But no, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff you got to have set up so that it runs smoothly, so that when you do get your clients, it can just, that was it running smoothly.
That was beautiful. I want my year to look like that and sound like that. Oh, stunning.
We love. Okay, so we're about to go into the fast five.
Oh,
to end this podcast.
Oh my God, I didn't prepare for this.
Well, no, it's not something you prepare for.
Okay, good. I was like,
you're like, holy shit.
Oh my God.
But before we do, the last question I want to ask is, what is like the big vision? Where is Ellie Kate Media going to, apart from the moon? But like,
apart from the moon. Oh, I love the positivity.
Where's she going?
Thank you for asking. The Ellie Kate Media is, she's going to the moon, but more specifically, I feel like my recruitment agency side of things is actually going to take over a lot more than I initially thought when I first kind of thought about taking the leap and the concept of what I was going to do. So I've got my courses for freelancers and EAs and stuff like that, which I thought would be the main thing I'd be doing a lot of, and recruitment was kind of a gap in the market, but I didn't know much about it, so I didn't think it would be a huge part of the business, because I didn't know if I would like it. I didn't know if it would go well. And now that I'm into it, I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a big recruitment agency in across at least Australia, maybe international. Like, I've already got some people that book in for calls that are from overseas, which is really cool.
Just casually.
That's like the big vision of like, I want it to be like a beast of a recruitment agency, and, you know, hire my own PA and hire staff underneath, which would be really, really cool. And then long-term goals is I actually want to own my own coffee shops, cafes, do property development, the whole thing.
Love that.
That's like long-term goals. And once this is like, I don't know what will happen, but I think I picture it as I will have a team that does the recruitments, and I kind of oversee and do the initial parts of it.
Working on, not in.
Yeah, that's what I see. Yeah, that's the big vision.
So, love that vision, by the way. There's so much fun stuff happening. I'm just curious, if you know that you want to start like a coffee shop and do property development, how come you don't want to do that like now?
Honestly, just because of the risk and the financial expense.
Yeah, okay.
Honestly, that's all it is. Like, I would love to do that now, but there's a part of me that's like, first of all, this thing, I feel like, not that it's not going to be around forever, but I feel like I'm at just the most perfect time in the industry and in society to start this. And I feel like it would be a missed opportunity to sort of skip over it. I feel like this is what's going to help me build the capital to be able to go big with cafes and venues and not be too worried about the risk. Like, I wouldn't want to open a coffee shop and that be my life depend on, you know, it going well, if that makes sense. I want it to be like a really fun overflow kind of project where I still have Ellie Kate Media.
Yes. So we were discussing that on our call before, because I said, because you were like, oh, I'm surprised you're not doing like, I thought you were doing a podcast thing full time.
Yes, yeah.
And I was just like, no, that's not earning me any money at the moment, but like I want something that gives me so much like freedom, but also money and abundance and experience, and that I find fun, which is the executive assistant side of things, so that then it can funnel into my podcast. And then it makes it fun and it takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
If I was like, I'm going to quit all things today and I can only survive off the podcast, it would just make it so unfun. It would take like.
I've heard that a lot from other entrepreneurs that say that's where you can risk like losing the passion for it.
Yeah.
Which is great advice and insight. So I definitely, didn't want to do that. And I just feel like, the thing I'm doing now, because it's very social media heavy with influencers and personal brands and stuff like that, like we all know that's not going to be around forever. And while I'm like in the thick of the industry and have some really amazing connections, like why not pursue that first?
Yeah.
Like coffee, we always need coffee. Coffee shops are never going to die.
No.
So that's why it's like not yet, but in the future.
Oh, I'm so excited. Are you going to sell matcha?
I actually personally don't like matcha yet.
Okay.
I feel like I'll be won
and that's
over.
where we end today.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I will sell it because I get it. I'm an Instagram girly. Like I know that that's the drink, but it tastes like grass. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if it's made bad, it tastes like grass. If you get a good one.
If I've had one that has sugar syrup in it and I was like, oh, okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, like I never used to like coffee when I was like a teenager. So I'm sure I'll come around.
Yeah. As
like
an Instagrammer, it's your job to
like
like
surely
it.
I'll just buy one for the photo and then be like, oh, it's actually not that bad.
Just throws it away. Okay, now we are going in to the Fast Five.
Okay.
This is where I ask you a question, 5 questions.
Okay.
And then you just speak whatever comes to your mind. And it never ends up being fast, lol.
I'm going to try. Take that as a challenge.
Okay, all right. All right, first question. If somebody is on the edge, they're like, man, I want to do this thing. I want to start being an EA. I want to start my business, whatever. But they're on the ledge. They're feeling that fear. They're feeling that self. They're like, what if? What would you say to that person?
I would say if it's on your heart for a reason.
So YOLO.
So do it anyway. What do you got to lose?
Okay.
That's what I would say.
No, I like it. Okay, what is your favorite platform or like book, podcasts, platform to kind of learn and grow in the business world that you look for to get advice from?
Oh, that's a great question. I would actually love to listen to other answers from other people too, because I'm always looking for new ones. Love Diary of a CEO, the podcast.
It's great.
I love any kind of founder stories. I'm just trying to think of the name of another podcast. This morning I listened to a new podcast I discovered called Chew the Fat, and he had like a branding expert on. I love learning about branding. Anyway, I'm a big podcast listener, so all of my subscription feed is business podcasts usually.
Yeah.
A little bit of manifestation, a little bit of girls chatting shit, but mainly business. So podcasts, yeah.
It's always so nice when you just kind of like, hearing the founder's story and just like immersing yourself with people who have done it, because then you're like, it's possible.
Yes.
People have done it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love hearing those, like started from the bottom, now we're here kind of stories. Like it's so empowering because it just makes you think, well, if they can do it, like I'm in the same, similar, maybe even a better position than when they started. Like those really hectic stories that you hear where they're like literally, maybe they were, I don't know, on the streets or like fully, if we think like, most dramatic 0 to 100 kind of situation, there are so many incredible founder stories out there where it's like the evidence of if they can do it, why can't you?
Yeah.
I just love filling my ears with that.
Yeah, it's important, especially like when you're first starting, I think, because like, my head noise has been crazy loud as well. So I've just been like listening to the stuff and then it makes you so much better. You're like, okay, I feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. It really helps. I love it.
Okay. Question number 3. What are the thoughts? This is a really random one, but it just came to me this morning. I want to know.
Okay.
What are the thoughts that keep you up at night?
Oh my gosh. I honestly sleep really well.
Oh,
I honestly sleep really well.
Good.
But the thoughts that I have like before bed is probably like, oh my God, I don't know. Oh, I'm not saying that like nothing troubles me ever, but like.
But nothing troubles her.
No. This is going to sound like so like, I don't know, maybe pretentious. I don't know what the word is. But like, I'm really, really careful about what I think about before I go to sleep. Like, I know,
I think that's smart.
Like we, manifest and program us the best right before we go to sleep because it happens in our sleep. So I'm like, I literally journal right before I go to sleep and then like put on a meditation as I fall asleep. So like the things that keep me up at night, I'm like thinking about like my big goals and I'm like, right, like what I've written down that I want to manifest. But I don't know. I mean, I guess like to be really raw and open, like currently right now, as we're recording this, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow and I'm extremely single, like the most single I've probably ever been. So like maybe that like keeps me up at night. Not like, am I ever going to find love, but just more so like, when's it going to happen? Who's it going to be? That's probably like more relevant to me now.
Wow. Thank you so much for being honest.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Like most of the time I honestly do try and be really, I sleep really well and it's because I write my manifestations in my journal and then I put on a sleep meditation and I go to sleep. I have my magnesium drink and I'm like out like a light.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I know
It's
not
okay.
everyone sleeps that well.
It's okay. It's just jealousy. Okay. Okay. What is currently on your vision board that might be surprising for people to hear? That's
Oh
like,
my
wow, that's
gosh.
random.
Ooh, I love this question because I actually haven't finished printing out my photos for my vision board this year.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh my God, that makes me feel so much better.
It's up in here.
Like it's on my Pinterest. I've started saving stuff to it, but I haven't like gone to Officeworks and printed it out yet. I should have really done it after
Do you
this.
make it all on Canva and then print it?
No, I make it all on Canva, so it's all one image for my phone wallpaper and my desktop
Yeah.
screensaver
Yeah.
thingy. But I have an actual pin board, so I like to cut them out individually and then pin them,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they're all separate, and I can like make it look all collagey. I don't like it when all the photos are like all together and there's no spaces.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I like them to be like all separate.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, I'm an aesthetic girly. So the thing that would be surprising on my vision board, I'm trying to think what's on there. I mean, the most exciting thing is like I'm going to Coachella with my best friends in like not even 2 months. So I feel like there's like little, I guess, things I want to experience and do in LA, which is like very, I don't know, I guess it's not a normal thing for me to have on my vision board. Like the rest of the stuff is just like, you know, beautiful offices and like it represents, you know, like growth in business and there's like, you know, activewear and like living healthy and that kind of thing. But I feel like that's like the most out of place thing I have this year. Yeah, I don't know.
Coachella's gonna be crazy.
It's not surprising, but it's like I actually can't believe it's happening. So
No,
I'm like,
no,
oh my
no.
God.
Yeah, I feel like Coachella's one of those things where you're always like, I really want to go to that one day.
Yeah.
And your one day is happening real soon.
It doesn't feel real at all. I'm like, that's how I always thought, and that's how I still think. And I'm like, no, I actually have a booked and paid for ticket, and I'm going.
Oh my! I'm actually so excited for you. I'm
Thank
getting
you.
secondhand excitement.
Thank you.
Are you gonna drink an Emma Chamberlain coffee?
Now that you've said that, yes, I'll add it to my list.
Because I think they have a stand there. They had a stand there
At
last time.
Coachella.
Yeah, of
Wow.
course. Emma has amazing marketing.
Oh, that's
She's a
cool.
little marketing queen.
I
Or
just,
her
I
marketing
don't know if
teamer.
I'm going to feel like a coffee at that point in time, but I'll give it a go.
Really, at festival?
Yeah, like I'll be just the milky drink with like all the other drinks I'll be drinking. It just doesn't really feel like that's
That's
like,
literally all I do. Because I'm not really a drinker.
You drink
Alcohol
coffee.
relaxes me, and I don't want to be relaxed.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I want to be hyperactive.
Yeah,
as I
so
am.
yeah.
So I'll be on those coffees.
That makes sense.
At
I'm
a
into
festival.
that. Like I would also, as opposed to potentially a Red Bull, I would do the Chamberlain coffee.
Yeah, but like
Like,
if you're
hey, do you
drinking,
have vanilla vodka? You can put in that.
Oh, yum. Yeah, but if you're drinking and drinking coffee, I get that. I respect.
But I
your
will try it, like maybe first when I go in the afternoon.
answer. Okay. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. Okay, there was a last question. It was so good, and it formed in my head, and then it left. So we're just gonna have a moment of thinking.
Yeah. Okay. I have a moment. I can't put pressure on you because then it won't come back. This
I
is number
know.
5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or number 4. Yeah. We're up to
Yeah,
number
it's the
5.
last one.
Oh my God.
It was just the best question ever. No pressure.
Mm.
Okay. Well,
There was a vision board. There was lessons. There was.
so much. It's okay. It'll come after. Okay.
I hate that.
All right. We'll go with the last question of the podcast. Okay. what is the best advice you've ever received and why was it? Because I think sometimes we can hear really good advice, but if it's at the wrong time, it's just like, get in the bin. But if it's at the right time, you're like, oh, that's amazing. So what was it and why was it so impactful?
Gosh, I always hear people get asked this question on podcasts, and I always think, wow, how did that come to you straight away? Because I feel like I always absorb so many little bits from like quotes online, and you know, I'm obsessed obviously with memes and quotes. Yeah, obviously.
What was the best meme you ever had?
Oh my God, don't even. Probably the plane one, actually.
Yeah.
The plane analogy. Love that. The first one that comes to mind, and I feel like it's not necessarily like tangible advice, so I'm so sorry I haven't thought of what it's going to be, but the thing that Georgie said to me, it was at the Christmas party last year, because obviously I was like, oh, I'm so sad, it's my last Christmas party, like, gonna miss you, blah, blah. And I was just talking about how, like, I'm nervous, I'm scared. Like, it was feeling much more real then. And she said to me, it's like not even a big punchline, but she literally just says to me, dead in the face, she goes, Ellie, it's not that hard. And it was like the best tough love, like, reality check that I could have had right then and there. Because coming from someone who, like, again, 0 to 100, like, I know her story inside out. I know that she worked for every single thing that she has. It all came from her own beautiful brain. Like, she never, you know, had quote unquote help or anything. Like, she was just from a normal family, doing normal things, did a law degree first, hated the job, and then, you know, did the entrepreneur thing. And coming from someone like that who, yeah, started from nothing, obviously she has a team now, but for her to just say, Ellie, it's not that hard. And she obviously says that to me with all the context of knowing the skills that I have, the ability that I have, the experience, the, you know, connections. And it was what I needed to hear. It was really good advice. Like, it's very, like, contextual. Like, if that's not what you need right now, like, don't take it on board. But sometimes that is what you need, just a reality check of, like, it's because I'm a bit of an overthinker and I'm, like, making things more complex than they have to be. Yeah. When she says it like that, she's like, you know what you need to do. You know you have the experience and the knowledge. It's not that hard. Just do the thing. I'm like, yeah, okay, I will.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's like random. Kind of your, you know, think less, just do it. Yeah. It's not that hard.
That's the attitude I've been having at the moment. Yeah. It's really needed.
Yeah, because if she was like, oh, it's okay to feel normal, it's okay to feel scared, like, oh, what you're doing is such a big deal, then you're almost, like, over.
Yeah. It helps you, like, sit in that feeling more.
Yeah,
where it's like, that's not actually what I needed right then.
Yeah, so. You need some tough love. Oh, I love that so much. Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is amazing. Your energy's so, like, calming and easy.
Oh,
chill vibes.
That's such a nice compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. So if people are like, my goodness, where is this woman? How do I find her course? What are your Instagram handles?
So my business is Ellie Kate Media on Instagram and my website. And then my personal one is Ellie Kate with 2 underscores, which kills me, but it is what it is. And yeah, I'm on YouTube. I'm just Ellie Kate everywhere, and the business is Ellie Kate Media, so you should be able to find me.
Perfect, and I'll put it all in the show notes.
Thank you.
But thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you got as much value as I just did. I think we've been oh my God, it's been an hour and a half.
I only just noticed that I could find the time somewhere, and I'm shocked.
Wow. I mean, we did mess around for probably like 10 minutes of that, but still I'm shocked. Anyway, I hope you guys got so much value from it. Feel free to screenshot it and share it and tag us so that we know which friends are listening, as I really appreciate you tuning in. Yes. Whatever platform you are on, please feel free to press follow or subscribe. On Spotify, we almost have 1,000 friends, which is absolutely wild. YouTube really needs to pop off. That algorithm, can you please help?
I don't know. I think it's non-existent.
We have like 180 friends on YouTube. That's okay. Anyway, I'm rambling. Come say howdy on the Instagram at Attitudes with Andy, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.